Welcome back to the Graham Stephan Show, and today we got to talk about a phenomenon that not a lot of people seem to be adjusting to right now. Like, it's one of those things where throughout history it's kind of been common sense, but lately people are losing their minds about the fact that cars go down in value. That's right. Over the last few years, car values have gone up to the point where you could buy a used car, drive it a few years, and suddenly it's worth more than what you paid for it. But that's not the way the world works. And that brings us to this video here from CNBC titled, "Why Cars Lose Their Value So Fast." So with that said, I want to comment on this as soon as you hit the like button and subscribe. As soon as you do that, any moment. Okay, thank you so much. Now let's begin.
Unlike a house, a car starts losing value right away. Literally, as you drive it off the lot. You could keep it spotless inside and out, give it regular maintenance, and protect it against every ding, dent, and scratch, and it'll still lose value.
See, I thought this was common sense. Like, growing up, we just kind of instinctually knew. If you drive a new car off the lot, immediately you're losing like 15 to 20%. Just driving it down the street, 20% is gone. And that's why there was all this advice of like, you shouldn't go and buy a new car unless you're worth a lot of money, or, you know, in almost every case, I'd be like, I was trying to think of reasons you should go and buy a new car. And I can think of very few. Like, there are very few cars out there that really makes sense to buy new. Tesla is one of them if you qualify for the tax credit, because you get $7,500 back, and then you could also get like state incentives and stuff like that. So maybe the Tesla's an exception to that. But most cars, just buy a car that's like 3 years old, 2 years old. It's practically the same thing. It's pretty much brand new, and you get to save 50% from what it would cost new. But this last year really messed with people's minds. And the fact that now cars are going down in value, people are just losing it. But we'll continue.
Depreciation, the rate at which that happens, is one of those numbers everyone in the automotive world thinks about. Consumers, automakers, and the massive used car market, which makes up somewhere around 40 million sales each year.
Yeah, you know what? Tesla is starting to get into that used car market, because here's the thing, okay? Car dealerships want to be in the business of selling new cars. Yeah, they might get some trade-ins here and there, but they want to sell new cars. They basically just want to sell the car, bundle it with a loan. They make money on the loan, they get some money on the car. Everybody, well, not everyone wins. The dealership wins, okay? But used cars, dealerships are not making money necessarily when people are going and just exchanging used cars. So what a lot of dealerships want is to minimize the rate of depreciation so that people don't just go to the used car market. And then they also want to see maybe they could, get some money off the used car market by selling them themselves. Like, a lot of the dealerships can make a substantial amount of money selling used cars. Or what Tesla's doing is they basically want all the inventory themselves. So then they would be able to sell their own like refurbished used cars. Rolex even started to do this. They started to take used watches in and then sell it through a Rolex authorized dealer. It's like, a pre-owned Rolex that's still sold by Rolex. I think it's really smart. If they corner the used market, man, they could take over just about anything.
But in 2020, something strange started happening, turning the car market upside down.
Used vehicles were actually increasing for about 2 years, which we've never seen anything like that for the market.
So what ended up happening, I'm going to dumb it down, okay? When COVID hit, a lot of the auto manufacturers thought, oh, geez, people aren't commuting to work anymore. They're staying home. We don't need to make all of these cars right now because we're going to spend a lot of money building everything, and they're just going to sit on the lots. They're going to lose money. Let's hold back. Let's stop producing as much as we were, and we'll just take a breather for a moment. We'll take a pause. We'll shut down some of these facilities. Fine. But you know what? The opposite happened. A lot of people started buying the cars because interest rates were so low, and COVID didn't turn out to be this thing that, we all thought it was going to be this huge, deadly thing. And it wasn't as bad as people expected. And then all of a sudden, the auto manufacturers said, wait a second, we didn't prepare for this. We only have so many cars here, and we shut down our facilities. It's going to take us some time to ramp this back up. And there's so much demand, we don't have the supply to that. And then prices go up. And that's what we've seen.
A lot of car purchases are financed, which means if the resale value of the car dips too low, a buyer could end up paying more for the car than it is worth. That is what it means to be underwater on a loan.
Welcome to a lot of cars today. People taking out $80,000 loans on pickup trucks and just cars that were never worth that to begin with. And what's even crazier is that you could get an auto loan for 120% of the car's value. Let that sink in. 120%. They'll give you 20% more money than what the car is selling for to pay for things like taxes, registration fees, all these other licensing fees. It's ridiculous. So you have to think, if people are buying at the top of the car market and then 20% beyond that to pay for all the other additional expenses and taxes, and the car was never worth that to begin with, and now it's worth half, where's that money coming from? They're going to have to either pay out of pocket if they want to sell the car, or they're just stuck making the payments. Or they just walk away from the loan entirely. They get the car impounded and they take a hit to their credit, which, a lot of people might just end up doing.
Cars lose about 10% of their value as soon as you drive them off the lot. There are a few reasons for this.
One is that we like new cars. We just like being in a brand new car.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking in my mind, one of the reasons it could be losing so much value is that you don't know how it was treated by the previous owner. Like when you get it new from a dealer, the dealer is usually going to stand behind the car. If it has an issue, it's easy to point to the dealer and say, hey, I got this car brand new, never had this issue before, it's not me. But when you buy it secondhand, usually that's an as-is sale. Yes, the car is usually going to have a certain warranty for, specific items, but you don't really know how that car was treated. In most cases, it's totally fine. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever, but I see some of that viewpoint.
An economist named George Akerlof won a Nobel Prize for coming up with this idea. Akerlof's famous paper is called The Market for Lemons.
Wow, imagine winning a Nobel Prize for telling people why their car's value is going down. Let's see what he has to say about this. I think this is going to be quite interesting.
If you have a car and it's like 3 days old or 3 months old and you sell it, why would you do that if the car was a good car? You're probably doing it because the car is a lemon.
That was it? That can't be it. Is that why he won a Nobel Prize for telling people that, hey, they're selling it for a reason, guys? There's probably something wrong with the car. And they get an award for it? There's no way. There's got to be more they're leaving out, because I don't believe it's that simple. There's no way.
After about 3 years, vehicles on average historically held about 50% of their value. 3 years is a kind of benchmark for the used car market, because that is the typical term for a lease, and leased vehicles are a large source of vehicles for the used market.
That's why I tend to believe that 5 to 7-year-old cars, that's the sweet spot to buy, because you're pretty much still getting a brand new car. You could find cars like that with very little wear and tear, and it's already lost 50 to 60% of its value from new. So basically, you're able to get a nearly brand new vehicle for 30 to 40% of the cost it would be new. To me, that's like such a big discount, it's worth it.
At one point, Tesla even threatened to sue resellers for $50,000. It reportedly removed the clause from its user agreement in mid-November 2023, just days before the truck's release, and then reinstated it when Cybertrucks started popping up for sale on the internet.
Makes sense though, because they don't want to have to sell their car just to have their customers go and sell it for even more than they are. Because then they may as well have just raised the price. It's really going to undercut Tesla at that point. So I think that's reasonable. I bet a lot of car manufacturers might start to do that. It might start to become a lot more common for really in-demand vehicles like this.
That pandemic price bump has evened out a bit, but cars are holding on to about 60% of their value after 3 years, a 10% increase from pre-pandemic times.
Yeah, basically just welcome to inflation. They printed 30% more money in our economy. Just assume that overall, since 2019, everything is going to be 30% more expensive. Sucks, but you know what? That is about the way it is.
New vehicle production and sales are also about 2 million units below the record 17.6 million units hit in 2016. That year, the average transaction price was around $34,077.
I think it's crazy how many cars are just being built, how many people just cycle through cars so quickly. They'll get a brand new car, drive it a few years, get another brand new car, drive it a few years, get another brand new car. There's so many vehicles out there. Am I the only one who thinks eventually there has to be just a glut of vehicles that no one wants to drive because they're all driving the new... Like, to me, it seems like eventually there'll be enough cars just out there already. They're trying to be sold because people already have cars. They just constantly cycle through them.
One of the perhaps hidden benefits of depreciation is that it creates a pool of cheap used cars for buyers who can't afford anything else. The price of a new car in October 2023 was close to $50,000. That is luxury territory.
Again, I don't get who's buying these new cars. Like, unless you have a stupid amount of money where you don't mind lighting 10, 20 grand on fire like that. Why? I don't get the point. Just buy a used car that's like 2 years old, 3 years old. It's nearly the same thing. That's what I have such a hard time wrapping my mind around.
There is a market out there for an OEM that wants to build a more basic product that's new and maybe decontent it a little bit too. And whoever wants to go after that, I think they'll do really well.
So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear your perspectives. So thank you so much for watching. I'll also link to this video down below in the description as well. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget that you could get some free stocks worth all the way up to a few $1,000s with a paid affiliate link down below in the description. I'll get a commission if you sign up, but you also get some free stocks. So let me know what stocks you get. Thank you so much, and until next time.